Good evening, everybody. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the South Haven City Council. It is Monday, December the 19th, 2022, and I would like to call this meeting to order. And in lieu of an invocation this evening, we will observe a moment of silence, please. Thank you. And now, if you're able, if you'd like to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call. Megan.
Jeff Arnold.
Here.
Wendy Onuki.
Here.
Joe Reeser.
Here.
Steve Schlock.
Here.
George Sleeper.
Here.
Letitia Wilkins.
Here.
Scott Smith.
Here. All right, we have the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's approved. Now we have a couple of updates. First, we're going to get an update on the Palisades nuclear generating station by our now Holtec staff. And I know I've got Nick and Nick. Good evening, gentlemen, for coming on a beautiful Monday night to share with us what's going on out there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Nick Culp and Mick Middaugh with Palisades. As you know, the plant shut down in May of this year, and Holtec acquired the site in June for purposes of a safe and timely decommissioning of the site. Jumping ahead, you may have seen today in the news that we are now in the process of applying for a Civil Nuclear Credit Program grant, which would enable us to restart Palisades. And so that's essentially what we're here to update you on today. I don't know, Mick, if you have anything.
I would give a little background on the Holtec. Entergy bought the plant from Consumers Energy. Pardon me? Entergy bought the plant in 2007 from Consumers Energy and operated the plant very, very well from 2007 to 2022. And when that transaction happened in 2007, there was a 15-year purchase power agreement. So the electricity that was produced at the plant was sold for the next 15 years to Consumers Energy at a price that was agreed to at the point of sale. There was a couple jumps in there on the amount during that period of time. And at that point in time, when that purchase power agreement expired in the spring of 2022, there was no one interested in buying the generation at a price where both companies could operate. And so that's the primary reason that purchase power agreement expired, and that's the primary reason why the plant did not have somebody to buy the electric. So begin the process of decommissioning the plant. And Holtec International, which is a worldwide firm, they're in the Ukraine now, and they're cleaning up the Chernobyl thing. That's what they do. And they decommission big projects. And so they bought the plant for a very small amount of money, a real small amount of money. But what they got with that was a decommissioning trust fund. And that decommissioning trust fund was well north of $500 million. And their business model will be to decommission the plant at a level in which will meet federal standards. They don't get the whole trust fund. They do a little work, they get a check for their work, and that's administered by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. And so after they do that, they spoon feed them. That's my language now, but they spoon feed them through that process. The big plus there is the federal government gives the owner at the time, Entergy, 60 years to clean up the plant, to decommission the plant. The Holtec information says they will do it in 19 years. So that was the big plus. The NRC approved that, and that's where we went. Now, as Nick just mentioned, why don't you take it from there, Lou, Nick, or what's going to happen?
So the Department of Energy has the Civil Nuclear Credit Program, which is $7 billion to support struggling nuclear plants in the United States. That was announced earlier this year as part of the bipartisan infrastructure package. Palisades was on track to close at that time. But we got strong support, I would say, from the state of Michigan and the local community to look at that fund. That's what we're doing today. It's 800 megawatts of clean energy for the state, 600 jobs for the community, large tax base. It just seems to make a lot of sense for us, so we are reapplying for that funding and hopeful that we'll be supported in that.
Okay. Very good.
If council has any questions, we'd be happy to try to answer those tonight.
I would just add that over the years, we've had a very good working relationship with the city of South Haven. Your city manager, Ms. Hosier, has done a wonderful job of keeping us informed on what's going on here, and us in turn trying to keep Ms. Hosier informed of what's going on at the plant. And she thought it important that we come down and spend a few minutes with you and kind of keep you in the loop also.
No, it's a great update. Clearly, we'd be supportive of the jobs, the clean energy, and all the above. So keep us posted, and if people have additional questions,
I'll
that's
provide
fine.
my
You'll be-
information to the city manager,
Okay.
and they can feel free to reach out anytime.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Thanks for the update.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
assuming we'll be
Appreciate
hearing
it.
more soon. So thanks for the
Absolutely.
update.
Thank
Have-
you.
Oh, go ahead.
Can you tell us when the timeline for finding out about the grant is?
The application begins at the end of January. We expect that there will be a 1 to 2 month window for applicants to enter, and then there's a review period after that. So I think the smartest thing is to never try to pin down the federal government on when they'll do something out of respect and deference to them. But I would imagine in the first or second quarter of this year, we should have a clear answer.
Awesome.
But that's just
Okay.
based on what we have today. Yes, Mr. Reeser?
So the one part I didn't understand was if the funding went through, if it was approved, what then? Who would run it? Who would own it?
So Holtec would remain, very good question. Holtec would remain the owner of the site, and we would partner up with a licensed operator. Our employees have all ran a nuclear plant before, but our company has never ran a plant before. So we would look to partner with a licensed operator. And then obviously for proprietary reasons, we can't comment on that today, but we're certainly making steps in that direction.
Thank you.
Great.
Sorry, but I'm wondering what's going to happen with the decommissioning during this probably year process.
Sure. Well, we think that the repower, if the DOE funding was approved, would probably take about 2 years or so. That's just a ballpark figure today. There's certainly a lot of work at the site in terms of managing spent fuel that we can do between now and a repower. So our employees, there's about 220 at the site today. We're going to be on a track to take all the spent fuel out of the reactor and put it into storage, and that would be happening regardless of whether we repower or not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, all of you.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Great. Have a great holiday. All right, and next we're getting an update from Pam Ford of Bronson Safe Kids of Greater South Haven. Good evening, Pam.
Good evening. How is everyone?
We're good, thanks.
Good. So in front of you, you have a Safe Kids Greater South Haven 2022 year in review. Very proud of the fact that we have distributed 189 car seats to families in need. And that's not all of the inspections that we've done. Those are just the seats that we've replaced. The overall misuse rate in Van Buren County is 81.4%. So that means 81 out of 100 kids are riding, something is unsafe in their car seat. Tether use, as you can see, seatbelt misuse, harness misuse. I was able to train 77 new child passenger safety technicians this year with a team of instructors that I have. We work very well together. Presented 10 pedestrian safety as part of road safety measures to Lincoln Elementary School kids. We had a walking school bus. 8 water safety education events. I appreciate greatly that the farm market allows me to have a space on Wednesdays to do water safety education. with not only our local folks, but our visitors as well. And that's the 8 water safety education events through the summer. We were fortunate enough to have funding provided by the Rotary to install 2 life jacket loaner stations, one at North Beach, one at South Beach. Very well received by the community. All the feedback that I got has been amazing. Partnered with a local business in providing ongoing water safety education. Had 5 helmet safety events or bike rodeos, 2 drug take-back days hosted at the Wellness Center, and a virtual baby safety fair that culminated in car seat checks for those parents as well. Any questions, you can reach me at the Wellness Center.
I get to compliment you because I get to see you do your car seat fitting, checking outside the window in the often inclement weather. And I have encouraged you to let us know if you need an indoor space, so that offer will still stand. So
Thank you. I
we
appreciate it,
appreciate your
Mr. Mayor.
keeping everybody safe, so it's nice to see you out there and here. So
Thank you.
anybody have any questions about all the great things she does?
I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you do. And obviously at the Children's Museum, we have the life jackets that you gave to us as part of our Great Lakes room to keep kids safe, and they've been well used and loved, and hopefully it's making some difference and
Very
helping your
good.
mission.
Appreciate it.
I have a question for you. Do you ever do anything with like animal safety, like kids and animals?
I do have some supplies from State Farm that are Fido Friend or Foe, and it's a color book specifically around learning how to safely enjoy animals in the community, dogs
Yeah.
in the community. So I do have some resources.
Okay. That just popped into my head when you were talking about the walking school bus, which I think
thanks.
is awesome.
And we did have some dogs on our route.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for everything you do.
welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great night. Kid home from college tomorrow, right? Kid home from college tomorrow?
Day after.
Day after? All right. Have fun. All right, that takes, again, thanks again, Pam, to our consent agenda items A through E.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda items A through E.
Second?
We have a motion, we have a second. Is ready to discussion?
I just had in the DDA meeting minutes, my name was spelled wrong. So if we could fix that, that'd be great.
Can do it. Other than that, not hearing nothing else, we'll take a roll call.
Arnold,
Yes.
Onuki,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlock,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. And that takes us right through to old business. City Council will be asked to take the following actions regarding an ordinance to amend Section 82-93 of the Code of Ordinances to expand the golf cart season and to prohibit the use of golf carts to tow trailers, passenger carts, or other items. So first, we need to hold a public hearing.
I make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second?
Got a motion, a second, to open a public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, this is open. Kate, you got this one?
Thank you, Mayor. We are coming back to the City Council for this public hearing and an adoption on this modification to the golf cart ordinance. There's 2 things that would be changing in this ordinance. One, it would be expanding the dates of operation from April 15th to March 15th as the new date, as well as October 15th to November 15th as the new date. That's one change. The second change would be to prohibit tow trailers, passenger carts, and other items. So those are the 2 changes that are referenced in the packet. There is a red line and a clean copy for the reference.
Okay.
I should also note, there's, I did mention in my staff report that we did, run this by Chief Thompson. I know she gave some comments here to the City Council, but after we had that conversation with Council looking for the parameters, I had a further conversation with Chief Thompson and reviewed these potential changes with her, and that's where my comments are in the staff report. So those are my comments.
Sounds good, appreciate it. All right, this is a public hearing, so if anyone would like to comment on this item, please come on up, state your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to share your concerns.
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I guess we're going to have to agree to disagree, but what I heard from Chief Thompson on November 21st in response to Councilman Arnold's question was that it was not safe to extend it. There could be snow in October, and an extension is an extension. It's not relevant. I mean, it's not dependent on whether there's good weather or bad. It's per se. It's extended. And then they take their life in their own hands and do whatever they want. And then the police have to go correct and attend accidents that really could have and should have been avoided if it were not allowed to go beyond the current time frame. I mean, we've had snow early, we've had snow late. It's just not fiscally responsible. It's not safe. I do agree with the hitch. I think that is a safety benefit not to allow that. Dan Agnello had written in also, and unfortunately, because of the dual scheduling of the ZBA and the PC meeting, City Council meeting, he is down there, I am up here. He made a very valid comment with regard to Section L and including front and rear carriers for equipment, coolers, bike, etc. I'm not so sure that the proposed language goes that far to prevent additions to the golf cart, and that would be a safety benefit to have that additional restriction in addition to the hitch. But again, I'm opposed to extending the window. I think that it is not wise. It's not taking into consideration the safety, and it exceeds what was asked by the handful of citizens who signed the petition to extend it just 2 weeks. So now, rather being extended 2 weeks, it's being extended 4 weeks on each side. I just don't think it's the right thing to do for our town. We need our police attending to significant situations that are not created by bad decisions of the recommendation of the staff and the approval of City Council to allow this to occur when inclement weather has a higher probability than not of occurring. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Veenstra, 1220 Monroe Boulevard. I agree with those comments. I do support the second part of the proposal about, I support that other part, but the part about extending, I still don't really see the benefit of that. There's a small benefit to a very limited amount of citizens here, but given the safety concerns, I think the longer season is just going to add to some confusion, and there are enforcement concerns. It has to at least add something to the strain on our resources. Thank you.
Thank you.
Danielle Veenstra, 1220 Monroe Boulevard, and it dawned on me as I was listening to this that March 15th, I can tell you for the last 26 years, has more often than not been a really horrible day weather-wise. I got married 26 years ago on March 15, almost couldn't get out of town because of an ice storm. Typically, we have to postpone our anniversary dinner because the weather is horrible mid-March. It is not wise for us to extend this into what in Michigan is really awful weather. October, yeah, that's really iffy. I can tell you mid-March, not good weather. So I would say don't extend it into March. And I agree that the restrictions on towing things is a good move.
Thank you.
Nancy Nat, 125 Elkenberg. I wasn't going to talk on this, but I was sitting here listening, and these are golf carts. They were meant to be used on a golf course, and most golf courses that are in Michigan do not allow golf carts even on the courses in the month of March. They're not built to take on the colder, wet, potentially snowy weather that we could get in those months. And I feel as if the city is taking on a potential liability, which we don't need, and I believe that we should just leave the time frame the way it is. We're not talking about that many weeks. I don't think people are going to be that upset if this extension doesn't happen. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Wilkins, 811 Indiana Street. I just want to stand in support of the comments that were made about the golf course carts. I think that it's putting the city at a great risk in March. I don't know if you guys stick around in March, but the last couple of years, March has been pretty bad weather in March. So I don't see any benefit other than putting the city at a great risk to try to extend that out. And in October, as was stated prior to me coming up to speak, October, the weather changes really bad. Those golf course carts aren't made for that type of weather. Got a lot of rain, mixed rain can happen in October. So I think it's been the position of the council on other things like lifeguard. Reason why you guys seem to stay away from that is because of the liability, the risk. I think this is one of those things that you might want to stay away from extending it out. It's only going to put the city at a greater risk. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Joe. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Want to close this?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion is second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, it is closed. And that takes us to the point where City Council will be asked to consider the approval of the proposed ordinance to amend Section 82-93 of the Code of Ordinances to expand the golf cart season and to prohibit the use of golf carts to tow trailers, passenger carts, or other items.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, we got a second. Discussion.
I wanted to know, why did we consider making it later and earlier and later?
During the day or in the?
You mean the
calendar?
The calendar.
Time or calendar?
The calendar.
Well, part of the logic was to match up with the parking, overnight parking, the off-season overnight parking.
I don't know. I think tonight is just an example. Like, I understand that there are a handful of people who want to see this extension happen and who would benefit from it. I can see the joys of being in a golf cart, but everyone who spoke tonight had a really valid point, and everyone who spoke tonight who lives here is against this extension in some way. And to me, it just doesn't make sense to do it, at least at this point, especially, as they said, the weather in March being questionable, October's questionable. I know we're giving them a choice to like make a good decision in bad weather, and some might make a good choice and some might not. And as a driver of a car, that just scares me, like the idea of getting in an accident with a golf cart. I don't know. I don't think that the benefits of extending the season outweigh the potential risks and problems with it. So that's where I am.
Go ahead.
I agree with what Wendy said and what the residents said, and I would only add one little thing. The whole reason we had golf carts approved at the beginning was it's supposed to be a summer, spring, early fall fun thing for both tourists and residents. In addition to your own vehicles, in addition to motorcycles, I don't see the benefit of extending it and increasing the window, and I see a whole lot of negatives, so I don't see why we would support that. I do support not having a trailer in the back. I think we've all agreed with that. But this kind of goes contrary to the whole idea of what a golf cart's about. And if people want to go out early in the year or later in the year, use your car. And most of them will have their heater on, too.
Fair. Thoughts?
My thoughts are I'm all for freedoms, and as long as I don't infringe on someone else's freedoms, that I should be allowed to do that. And we have many things to consider in this area. For example, in my business, I don't have a professional interest in this vote. I have a personal interest in this vote. My vote is that I can ride a motorcycle with no helmet, no seatbelt, 12 months out of the year if I want to. As long as I don't infringe on anybody else's freedoms or crash into somebody, I'm not hurting anyone. And I shouldn't be limited to my freedoms because some people are scared that somebody else isn't responsible enough to do something the right way. So my personal feeling is I like the idea that it's coordinated with the parking limits with the on-street parking. It's easier to remember, easier to enforce. No cars parked overnight, no golf carts around. But as far as, I was emailed earlier, I think a week and a half ago or so, saying that I should recuse myself from this vote. I don't sell golf carts. I just have many customers that have golf carts. They don't put their boats away till November 15th or mid-November, depending on how our schedule is, November 20th. I had to have 3 or 4 customers bring their golf cart to me by the road after November 1st this year because they still use them getting around in their marinas and stuff like that. So my interest is more personal. It's not professional. I use it for work. I've used it for work for almost 35 years now. I use a golf cart to throw jack stands on a cart, go to the next parking lot, this and that. Sometimes I cross the road, this and that and the other thing. I use it as a tool. It wasn't until the golf cart ordinance got put in place that it made me break the law, if you will, by using it after a certain period of time. So do I need to label my golf cart something different? Possibly. But I use it for efficiency. I use it for, it doesn't use gas to starting up a big vehicle or truck. I use it because it's quick and easy. So my feeling is I'm for the golf cart extension to coincide with the parking and my personal freedom. If I want to get on a motorcycle and ride it with no helmet and no seatbelt year-round, I can do that in the state of Michigan. It does not add any more liability to the city of South Haven. As far as I know, as far as our insurance or anything else goes, because the state of Michigan allows the motorcycles, I don't think golf carts has anything to do with taking on any additional liability. So that's where I stand, just so that everybody knows. Thank you.
That's good.
My thoughts are very similar, that I own a two-wheel gasoline scooter that only goes a maximum of 30 miles an hour. I can ride that year-round and not required to wear a helmet. There's actually a young person that's riding one still to this day to the school every day, a scooter. So while Chief Thompson expressed some concern that, and she said it very nicely, that common sense is not very common, and that makes her nervous. Just like Steve said, I think that I trust that our people will make the good choices. And that when we do have a nice early spring or a nice tempered fall, that people should be allowed to use their golf carts. So that's why I support it. And then I am opposed to the trailers, and so I think the rest of it is also a good piece of legislation. And further, if people there's a difference between a gasoline-powered golf cart and an electric golf cart. And if you have an electric golf cart, you can go to the state of Michigan and get a license plate for it and drive it year-round. So we're not really changing that much with this piece of legislation.
What is the maximum speed limit for golf carts on our roads?
I don't know offhand, but I can get in there and look, but there is a maximum amount. But as Jeff noted, there's a difference between golf carts' maximum speed and a low-speed vehicle's maximum speed.
Okay.
Any comments, George, before you go? Are you good?
I'm good. Yep.
Okay. Kate, just to be clear, the state of Michigan did not put parameters on the...
That's correct. So under the state of Michigan, they could be operated all year round.
All
There's
year
no,
round. So
there's
we
no
restricted
prohibition
it.
on that.
Okay, so we've
Yeah.
restricted it more than what the state did. I guess my thought on this has all along been that we rely on people to use some common sense. I'm in favor of expanding it because we have had nice falls, nice springs. We do get fluky weather in either direction. This is Michigan. If you've grown up here, it's always like that. But if the weather's good, people like to get out. And if it's bad, most of the time, you're not going to see these things out and about. So I think we have to, I'm willing to let this go through. We can assess it at the end of a year, see how it's going. If there's any troubles, we can always revisit it. but I'm in favor of at least expanding it and see how it goes. I'm also in favor of limiting the ability to add hitches. So on that note, if there's no other questions, let's get a vote done, and why don't we roll call it?
Reeser,
No.
Schlock,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
No.
Arnold,
Yes.
Onuki,
No.
Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries.
It carries, very good. And next, we're going to go ahead to the next item. City Council will be asked to take the following actions regarding an ordinance to amend Chapter 34, Article 3 of the Code of Ordinances, upgrading from the 2003 edition to the 2015 edition of the International Fire Code. And first, we need to open a public hearing.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and second to open a public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, it is open. All right, back to talk about the International Fire Code. Got it?
Yep, that's correct. So we are bringing this back for a public hearing as well as an adoption for this ordinance amendment. This would amend Chapter 34, Article 3 of the Code of Ordinances, and would upgrade our International Fire Code edition from 2003 to 2015. We have been applying the 2015 through Shays. Shays, as part of their audit, also noticed that our other municipalities, as part of Shays, were also out of step with the 2015. So everyone as part of Shays is upgrading to the 2015 edition. There are a few minor modifications which have been noted in the staff report, mostly the outlines with penalties and misdemeanor fines, but those are the changes. I also should note that this also designates the Fire Board of Appeals to be the Construction Board of Appeals rather than a separate board.
Okay, very good. All right, this is a public hearing, so if anybody from the public would come on up, state your name and address. You have up to 5 minutes. Going twice. Sold.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion is second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It is closed. And the next, City Council will be asked to consider the approval of the proposed ordinance to amend Chapter 34, Article 3 of the Code of Ordinances, upgrading from the 2003 edition to the 2015 edition of the International Fire Code.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance to amend Chapter 34, Article 3 of the Code of Ordinances, upgrading the fire code from the 2003 edition to the 2015 edition.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Pretty straight ahead. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is approved. New business. City Council will be asked to consider the approval of a special event application 2022-30, the South Haven Steelheaders Fishing Tournament 2023, to be held May the 19th to the 21st, 2023, at the Southside Marina and Black River Park.
Make a motion to approve special event application 2022-30, the South Haven Steelheader Fishing Tournament 2023, to be held May 19th through the 21st, 2023, at the South Side Marina and Black River Park.
Second.
All right. We got a motion. We got a second. Kate, anything new?
Nothing new, but they are following the format that has worked the last couple of years with having 2 different locations. So they will have a command post at the Southside Marina on the days that they run out there, do the fishing tournament. So that's Friday, Saturday, and I think maybe a Sunday. But they will be having the weigh-in and the award ceremony at Black River Park. That seems to work out well, that location. Being with the new fish cleaning station, they can take advantage of everything down there. They have their map in here, and we'll also make sure there's a nice cleaned-up one for the day of. For that weekend, so everyone can see where all the lines are and where the lineup is. So with that, I think it's a well-run event. We're happy to see it come back for next year.
Oh, sounds good. Any public questions on this one? Go fish. Council questions? Nothing. We'll just say thanks to the Steelheaders for putting that on, and if you've never been down there to watch the boats go out, it's fun to watch. So we've got a motion and a second to approve special event application 2022-30, which is the South Haven Steelheaders Fishing Tournament 2023. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. And the next, City Council will be asked to consider the approval of an amendment to the short-term rental management software service agreement with Grant CS LLC in the amount of $29,330.60.
I'll make a motion to amend the short-term rental management software service agreement with Granius LLC. Hope I said that right. For an amount of $29,330.60.
Second.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second. Griffin.
Good evening, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to bring this before you. It is Granicus LLC, previously known as Host Compliance, which I think is a term a lot of us still use when we talk about the software. So what we are bringing before you this evening is a request for the City Council to authorize city staff to purchase some additional software from Granicus. We do presently use several modules already. They help us with a number of things associated with the short-term rental management program, specifically the address identification and compliance monitoring modules. So what these do right now is crawl the internet, if you will. They look at websites like Airbnb, VRBO, and they pull addresses from the city of South Haven, and they are able to compare them to what our records say for these properties and essentially highlight if they don't match. Then city staff has to go in and actually see if there's a problem or not with where they're not matching. So that's what one of those does, instead of us needing to have a staff member, spending multiple hours a day manually searching these websites. The other thing that it does is it does some compliance monitoring for us, and in that sense, it pulls certain pieces of data from these websites that we can use as evidence in specific enforcement actions. So what's commonly used is reviews. So if there's reviews on a website that someone stayed here at a certain time and it's, let's say, a property that wasn't registered to rent, that's viable evidence that they were probably renting an unregistered property. So with that, they are a kind of the industry standard when it comes to short-term rental management softwares. They do offer a number of additional modules to help with this process, and based on feedback we've been getting from both members of the public and residents concerned with the management of short-term rentals, as well as from property owners and rental management companies on the management of short-term rentals, we think there are some tools that they offer that would help us address concerns from both ends. So we are requesting this evening the ability or the authorization to add 4 additional modules to our annual service agreement with Granicus. These modules are listed at the bottom after the 2 that I just mentioned. So one of them would be a 24/7 hotline. This would be a phone number operated by Granicus. Someone would be operating it 24/7. They do this for a number of other communities, a few in the state of Michigan and then many across the country. So someone would answer the phone. You would share your concern. They'd be able to go into their system and try to answer any initial questions that someone may have. They would document all of these concerns for us in one place, and if necessary, they could either reach out to the property owner / agent on file, or if necessary, the police. So we think that that's one tool that could be helpful. Another one is the rental activity monitoring light version. So this would really enhance that compliance monitoring that we already have. It would pull additional data using their crawling tool online, including bookings dates and financial information from some of these to help us really start to address some of the feedback that's been brought our way about making sure that we are monitoring the booking dates of personal short-term rentals, and this would be data from the websites that we'd be able to compare to what is submitted to us from those property owners. You may note that it says light, just to confirm this is the kind of the base or the full package. They do have a kind of a ramped up version, but that is only for communities that have local taxes associated with short-term rentals. It's more of an outreach audit function. So that's not something that we're enabled to do in the state of Michigan. So this really is the version that would be most helpful to us. And then the last 2, the registration portal and mobile permitting, this would allow us to transition from what is right now a paper application, documentation, and registration process to a professional-looking online portal. This would have property owners and management companies create accounts. They would then put all of their information into this portal, and it would be a one-stop shop in terms of access to it. It would hopefully create some consistency in terms of the records that we're having, and make it a little bit easier for this program to continue to move into the future, in addition to just be a little bit more professional. So we're really excited about the opportunities these modules have to help us address some of the concerns that have been brought. The cost of this software would be charged to the short-term rental program budget line that's included in the annual building department budget, and these prices would include support on the setup side and initial online training for our staff. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Sounds good. Thanks for clarifying that it's getting paid for. Go ahead.
I just want to compliment you on your presentation. I talked to Kate today, and I'm listening to you, and I don't see a downside. I see all pluses. This will help staff relieve some of the workload. It'll make us more effective, more efficient. I love the idea of a 24/7 hotline so people don't have to call 911, which sometimes can be, frustrating. Monitor the booking dates would be great. To go from paper to online. I don't see any downside, and I see all pluses, and it's not going to cost the taxpayers a penny.
Would there also be, we get emails sometimes from people that are concerned about if their places are not getting used correctly, or if they're expired, their permits are expired. Would the public be able to use this to search when they have questions?
So the online registration portal does not have a public-facing side, but one thing that these modules would do to help address that is they have automation functions to send, for example, a month before the expiration of a permit. We can just set the system up to automatically blast to that person to make sure that they know their permit's going to be expiring in a year. So I think there are some tools here to help address some of those concerns, but there's not a public-facing portal, if you will.
Yeah.
I do think the public-facing side, or some of the direct benefits to the public, are mentioning the 24/7 hotline, being able to keep all of the reported concerns in one place. It will help us to respond faster when it comes to questions or concerns that we may get. In addition to, we've discussed with you all and many members of the public before some of the challenges we have with our records, particularly when paper records are being kept and over time, and differences in how those records may be filed or taken. Our goal and hope with this is we would be able to start and have a more consistent process moving forward.
Well, I remember when I went from paper grades to online grading, and
Sure.
it sure went smoother and faster, so, okay. that sounds
And I
good.
will say, we've communicated with some other communities, the city of Traverse City, city of Charlevoix, are two others in the state of Michigan that use these types of modules. So, there a lot of the short-term rental owners or management companies are going to be familiar with how this looks. Like anything, there may be a little bit of a transition up front, but I'm cautiously optimistic this will be one step we can take to start to relieve some concerns kind of on both sides of this issue.
Okay, good.
Sounds good. Question.
My question would be the IT support 6 months from now and a year and a half from now. If the system crashes, how often is it backed up? How much does it cost to have somebody come in and straighten out the system? And what kind of security is there?
Sure. So I can answer some of those. So, and if there's others, we can try to get some information and follow up. So Granicus is a software company that the city of South Haven works with on a number of different areas, not just when it comes to the short-term rental software. So our IT department was heavily consulted when we were exploring this and is very comfortable with them. Actually, the feedback I got is they like working with Granicus because Granicus kind of stores and handles everything on their end. So there's not going to be a lot of additional work on our IT department. In terms of specifics of some of the dates or timing of security and that stuff, I'd have to look more into that for you.
Yeah, I was more looking for like the cost, the ongoing cost of it. If something were to
Oh,
happen
sure.
6 months from now, I mean, does it come with a year warranty, 6 months
Sure.
warranty?
Well, so these prices that you have in front of you, this is an existing software services agreement. So hopefully this helps to clarify. These are not one-time costs. These are going to be annual costs associated with this program. So all of that maintenance, if there's an issue, tech support,
That's included
upgrades,
then.
all that kind of stuff is going to be built into these.
Right, Steve, this is a subscription, really, to these different
Thank you.
services.
Yeah. It's an enhancement of what we currently have.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it.
So this will be an annual deal that's added to the
Current.
short-term rental fees?
Yes.
Yep.
It
Yes.
would get built into that budget line.
It's part of the expenditures and revenues. As we look at that, when we bring our snapshot report, we like to tie those in with the revenues of the program at that time and show you where things are sitting, and if they're on track, if they're not track, if we need to adjust those fees.
Thank you.
Yep, John, any public questions on this? We can get going, a couple public questions.
David Veenstra, 1220 Monroe Boulevard. I really like the idea of a 24/7 hotline. That sounds great. Just the one thing I would add to that is if we go ahead with this, let's make sure that we disseminate that number to call for the hotline far and wide. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. So it sounds like Traverse City and Charlevoix are the two cities, towns, whatever, in Michigan who have this. How many STRs do they have? What's the ratio? And with the report, are there any reports that can be run to show how many violations or reports, complaints were made for which issue? And regarding occupancy, I don't see how this platform will help, because the issue is that the way the ordinance is written, if there's a issue about occupancy, there can't be anyone going inside to count occupancy. So one of the key issues with STRs is still not addressed by this, but it's not because of the system, it's because of our ordinance. That we've been trying to get something dealt with, but I digress. Also, what is the number of calls that they would expect? I mean, what is the number of calls that their call center can handle with the number of STRs we have? And if people feel like they can actually now finally have their complaint registered and something done with, they may have a lot more calls. So what happens, when they're, is there a limited number of calls that can be made? And so if the fee is going to be increased, why wasn't a fee addition brought with this item to the city council? I mean, you just upped fees last time, and the STR fee was not increased, and now there's going to be an immediate expense to the city, and we're still trying to make up from failure to charge enough initially. So when should we expect this fee increase to be implemented? Because it can only be charged once it's been implemented. It just, I think there's a lot of positives, but I think there's still a lot of unanswered questions. Those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. You want to share some thoughts on like tracking trends and whatnot? I mean,
Sure.
That's why we're doing
I'm
it.
happy
so.
to address several of those. I mean, first off, the software is exactly that. It's software. It's not a magic pill. It's not going to address every issue and every ill that we have or there is perceived to be in this community regarding short-term rentals. I do think it will help us start to address many of them, but it's not going to fix everything.
But-
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say that the software should help us save staff time and help us get more organized so that maybe staff would have more time to enforce
Incredibly so.
That's definitely the goal.
other things and concerns that the community has. Also, would it not make, for example, when you have a certain cost and budget item onto the budget, if I remember right, Art, when the Attorney Curcio stated that you take the average, you may raise it up what you might expect fees to be, and then we got to level off for like 2 or 3 years or something. I don't
Yes.
remember the exact time and date, but you don't do it year by year. It's kind of an average. For example, if this saves staff time, maybe it'll cost less and fees will go down. I doubt that.
Sure.
But just for an example, it's an average over time, is it not? Rather than
That's-
just year by
yes.
year?
Yep, and that's why traditionally the short-term rental fee has gotten brought to council or addressed about the same time that snapshot report comes every year. So think about this last year, we addressed it in March. I would venture a guess that about that time next year would be when we'll be taking a look at that, and city council can consider whether or not fees need to be increased at that time. So, fees will be considered with this. Again, obviously, we have a budget we need to keep, and at the same time, we're trying to make sure we're being responsive and addressing some of these concerns. The other questions that were brought up, I don't know, and I can't speak to the number of short-term rentals and some of those points that were brought up for Traverse City and Charlevoix. I can tell you that we've reached out to them, and they've been pleased with this software and have told us it does what they thought it would do. Lastly, I'm also not concerned about their call centers not being able to handle the number of calls. They work with a number of communities, some much, much larger than ours. I recognize that we're going to be one onboarding. I'm not concerned at all about them not being able to handle the volume of calls. With that, there will be reports that will be able to be generated. That's part of the advantage of doing this and having a 24/7 hotline, is having all of those tracked and kind of put into one place. So I definitely think there will be reports that can be generated as needed to help, make informed decisions about the program moving forward.
And just to be clear, if someone calls 911 here, there's always a record. We always take those very seriously.
Absolutely.
Have that record on file. And even if you call the
Absolutely.
911, there's still paper trails and documentation and, yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
And the chief will tell you, but life and property comes first.
Absolutely. And it's obviously, yes.
So, to that point, there will still probably be some calls to our non-emergency line about short-term rentals, but then we'll have this hotline. Will that data be merged together when we do our snapshot or
If someone's not
reports?
calling this 24/7 hotline, they will not have that information to add. So
Not on their end, but on our end, when we're kind of compiling.
we can look into that, but I don't believe so, because we're not getting reports from Central Dispatch about the calls they're getting related to short-term rentals.
We don't get those now?
No.
Okay.
So what we're going to encourage people to do is, for the exception of an emergency,
Right,
when
use
you
this
should always call 911, you should call this hotline. And if it's something that, when they're helping you through the problem-solving process, that they can't help you resolve, they can't get in touch with the property owner or the agent to get resolved, and it needs to go to Central Dispatch, it'll then go to Central Dispatch from that way, and then there will be a record of it.
Still have that, okay.
So there's going to be some learning, of course, but again, over time, we think this will be a much more streamlined process for people.
Yeah, I think it sounds great.
Sounds good. Were there other public questions before I close that part down?
Like Mr. Veenstra said, we got to make sure we get it out to everybody.
David Veenstra, 1220 Monroe Boulevard. So what I just heard was, Griffin, when you said that.
I think Mr.
we
Veenstra
don't-
Yeah, sorry,
spoke.
you've already been up, sorry. I'm sorry, you're not allowed to be up twice. Sorry, wasn't aware you'd already been up.
Yeah, but Mr. Veenstra made the point that we want to make sure we get this
Oh,
number
gotcha, Mike.
out to the public. and-
Perfect.
Yep.
All right, was there anybody else that hasn't been up? Sorry about that. I forgot you've been up. All right, any other council issues, thoughts, comments?
Just, Griffin, when do you expect that you'd maybe have the training associated with this for staff? And and
That's
start
a-
to learn more about the software?
That's a really good question, and I was actually thinking of it sitting back there going, they're going to ask me how quick we think we're going to be able to get this in place. So we will be following up with the company as early tomorrow to start this process. I know they know we're excited and ready to go. So I do not have a specific date, but Q1 of 2023 is going to be when I expect we'll be able to start getting this rolled out.
Thank you.
Sounds good, yeah. And I will say I've been impressed with Granicus in the past, and I think they've done great work. So I think they'll continue to do great work for us. So on that note, we've got a motion, we've got a second.
You've still got public.
Oh, is there someone else? Sorry, I thought we closed it down. Sorry.
Bill Wilkins, 8011 Indiana Street. I just wanted to know, will this add to the workload of the police department? Taking on the non-emergency calls and now these other calls?
No.
Take it away
If
from
anything,
them.
it's going to take it away from them.
It's going to take it away from them.
They're going to have their own hotline they'll be able to call into instead of calling into the,
So if
through
there's an
dispatch.
issue, they will respond to it, though.
They still will, yes.
They will still.
If it elevates to the level of needing to go to the police, if it can't be problem solved through this hotline, it'll still go to the police. They'll still
So
respond.
when you say problem solved, what will the person do on the phone to resolve a short-term rental issue at?
Sure. Well, so depending on what the issue is, and we all know there's a variety of different issues.
Just say it's a wild party.
Well, if it's a wild party, it's going to go to the police. So that's not going to change.
All right.
But there's a lot of other concerns that get shared about the program where a 24-hour hotline may be able to just answer a question about the program, may be able to
So why would
find
they
out.
call? So you're assuming that you're going to get a lot of calls for somebody calling and say, how does STR work?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of calls about that kind of stuff. Just questions about the program or is this property registered? I think we'll be able to problem solve a lot of those. There's the next phase that they're going to do, which is they're going to have all of the contact information of these property owners and these agents that we have on phone or on file, and they'll be able to reach out directly to them if there are problems that need to get solved that way. There'll obviously still be records if follow-up enforcement needs to happen. And then thirdly and lastly, if it elevates to the level of the police department needing to get involved, that can obviously happen at that point. So again, the goal here is resolving the problems.
Good. Well, that sounds good program. All right. We've got a motion. We've got a second. All those in favor of this software agreement, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. It is approved. Thank you. And next, we're going to receive part 2 of the end of the year presentation from our city manager, Ms. Kate Hosier. Good evening, Kate, again.
Good evening. So let me get this set up here. And I know we have a presentation for you tonight. I hope you enjoyed the slides as much as we did in putting them together. There's a lot of work that goes into the end of the year, from Bill's slides, which take up an entire meeting, to the rest of us that also take up the balance of the second meeting in December. So I'm very pleased with what we were able to get done. And I did want to say a big shout out to city staff because this was a lot of their effort in putting this together. They very much like to show off the work that they've gotten done this year. I do want to say there's 2 parts to this presentation. The first part will be the end of the year, kind of a halfway update, because as you know, we're on a fiscal year calendar. But this also has a second part, which will be the department update. So that's like their end of the year there. So I did want to say that. Also, I know that we have some metrics in here kind of showing our progress. It's a subjective scale. This is kind of where we think that we're making progress. Green to mean that we're making very fast progress, looking to be on target, if not before. Yellow is moderate progress. It's still progressing, but it's not as fast as we had hoped, or whatever the process may take. And then there's red, which is no meaningful progress forward. So with that, I want to get started here with our fiscal year 2023 priority number 1, our housing development. Here we have the Overton redevelopment project. This is our planned unit development project that was approved by council. The LIHTC application was submitted in October of 2022. We are hoping to hear back on this program either by the end of December or early January. We also were able to secure a $50,000 EAGLE grant to conduct additional testing on the site. Now, this would be testing that would be needed if the LIHTC would be approved, and this is just, would be helpful for the site overall. We continue to work on missing middle, workforce, and senior housing projects. So you can see we have a snapshot of our workshop that we had earlier this year with the South Haven Charter Township. What we heard out of that what we heard out of that workshop was that we needed to have more data to understand what's the challenges for the South Haven City and the township and how to work together to look at our other strategies for adding more units. There's all sorts of units that are needed to add to the number of housing or dwelling units here in the city and the township. They're looking for market rate, they're looking for affordable, they're looking for a lot of different housing. Also, as far priority number one, we had 12 more units of market rate be added to the downtown. That's one of our priorities right there. The former Hales location, we're still waiting to see if they've got a plan that they would like to have us consider. Also, we have the Lakeshore Habitat for Humanity. They've opened a restore. They're about 3 years out. They're hoping to get started with, once they get started with a restore, then they go through a program to kind of help build houses or fix houses, and then they start working on developing a community fund to build more houses in the area. So getting the restore is our first step out of a multi-step process to having Habitat and Humanity in our community. And again, this is our progress tracker, and this was in your packet. So we have not made meaningful progress on the long-term rental registration or the effects of gentrification, but they're still on our list of priorities. We have our priority number 2, which is our short-term rental review. So on this one, we have made some good progress on the first part, which was the City Council asked for 2 studies to be completed before we could start reviewing the impacts. So we have the citywide survey that was completed in November of 2022 with the WMU Kircher Center. And we are now working on the impact report with Roby Analytics, and that is slated to be finalized at the end of January. So we hope to bring that information to you in early February. We also were able to have the University of North Carolina's Moorhead Came Scholarship Program come here. This was kind of a neat little side project. We had 4 students come here for 10 weeks. We were able to host them. We were one of many cities, Chattanooga, Colorado Springs, to get a group here. And they came here to study a local issue. They ended up choosing short-term rentals. They came together with that program. It was nice to kind of work together with them, as well as the whole community. The things that we've been working on with this priority is obviously our 2 studies that council has asked, but we've also been trying to communicate with our property owners and agents for general reminders with keeping rental registrations current, garbage and recycling receptacles, lawn maintenance, and of course, no use of fireworks at an STR without the owner present. We've increased some operational improvements such as enforcement, inspection consistency, and record keeping. And these are our progress tracker for this priority. Priority number 3 was organizational improvements. So far, we have begun the review of the zoning ordinance. We've received a $30,000 grant from the MEDC to conduct this review. So the zoning ordinance codification is in progress. The group meets monthly, the steering committee, and it has 3 citizens on there, George being one of those folks. The updated codification, this is where I need to correct something. We also worked on the Code of Ordinance, and that's about 80% correct instead of the zoning ordinance codification. So we've started the codification portion of the Code of Ordinances, and that's about 80% complete. But we've switched a lot of our resources toward the zoning ordinance as it seemed to be need to get off the road. Need to get started and forward progress made on that one. So that should say Code of Ordinance codification, that last line. Our other organizational improvements was to enhance the enforcement of adopted ordinances. We've had a lot of complaints that we have got rules on the books, but we have not really made people follow them. So we have done a couple different things this year, one parking enforcement and code enforcement and beach safety enforcement. For parking enforcement, we did give an update to the DDA in June of 2022. We do have the new parking software and the vehicle to help make sure that parking is being followed. In our downtown, it's pretty unusual. You don't find too many places where you can park for free for 3 hours. Most places you do have to put in metered parking. Here, we have not done so, but we have increased the enforcement to subsidize any other, making sure that the parking follows that rule. The other thing that we really did this year is we really focused on vehicles that exceeded the length of the stall. That seemed to be a common aggravant that happened especially in the summertime on Center Street and Phoenix Street. We've really kind of addressed that. Now, we don't get everyone, but we've been doing a fair amount, and I'm sure if you drive down those streets now, you'll see less of those cars than you would have maybe a year or two ago. Our code enforcement report was given October 22. As you remember, we have really stepped up a lot of enforcements as was asked by this priority. Beach safety, this was the first year of beach safety, and again, we were very aggressive in defending that ordinance. This is our progress tracker for this fiscal priority. Priority 4 is our economic development efforts. I'm going to tag this one off to Griffin.
Awesome, thank you. Not going to go into too much detail about these. A lot of them are similar projects that we've continued to progress since the update earlier in the year. But really excited to just continue to share that. With the mayor's leadership, we're meeting with our local businesses regularly. We get to most of our major employers in town once or twice a year, and these meetings are really fruitful when it comes to maintaining relationships, learning about challenges, and how we can assist these businesses stay and expand here in South Haven. With that, we have seen a lot of success in our local businesses, particularly a number of our manufacturers over this last year. For example, Revere Environmental is currently expanding. They're adding over 22,000 square feet and about 10 new jobs. That came both before the Planning Commission in terms of a site plan, but all of you in terms of an IFT exemption request. W.R. Grace is also expanding here in South Haven. They announced a $25 million investment in our community, which is amazing. That project is also currently under construction. Spencer Manufacturing got a site plan approved by the Planning Commission for a approximately additional 40,000 square feet. They have not begun development yet, and we are working with them to figure out some financing, which is a good kind of transition to we were able to actually get the CEO of the MEDC into town not too many weeks ago and got him touring a few of our local businesses to see what kind of support we can drum up from the state for some of these businesses. In addition to that, we've got a few other businesses locally looking at making some major equipment purchases. So with all that being said, I'm definitely excited about the state of a lot of our local manufacturers here in town. They tend to be doing quite well. Moving on to the next slide, this is a slide really talking about some of the regional initiatives we have. One of those is obviously broadband. Talked a little bit in July about how the city has taken a little bit of a step back on this initiative. This has been found as a priority for Van Buren County, and they were putting quite a few resources behind this, so we decided not to duplicate efforts and really let them take the lead. They did ultimately produce a report that showed the service levels throughout the county. Now that we have that, we can start to take another look and see what types of opportunities we may have here locally or with the neighboring townships. We are also working with regional partners to promote workforce training opportunities. One of the most exciting developments over the last year, in my professional opinion, was the recruitment of Gull Lake Marine to the city of South Haven. As all of you know, they purchased the historic All Seasons Marina property and have some really exciting plans for reinvesting in that facility and yet keeping it a full-service marina. So one thing that the city is doing is pulled them, Lake Michigan College, and some other resources together to try to help develop the creation of a marine tech program right here in South Haven. So the really short version of this is the state of Michigan is top 5 in boater registrations in the country and bottom 10 in the number of certified marine technicians. This seems like a very logical gap and fits a lot of our culture here in South Haven, so why not make this a destination for people looking for that training? So working together with a lot of partners to see if we can get that off the ground. Stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have some exciting announcements about that in not too long. Moving on to the next one. As all of you know, we are a redevelopment-ready community, and we are seeking to maintain that certification. There are a number of annual maintenance activities that city staff has to undertake, but I will say that this program has bared fruit, particularly over the last year. For example, as Kate mentioned, we received a $30,000 grant as part of this program to support the review and update of our zoning ordinance. Those grants and those technical assistance dollars are available because of our redevelopment ready certification status. We are also working with others to support the maritime industry and harbor. All Seasons Marina definitely goes into that, and I'm excited to see what they have coming in the future. And after that, just a few other of these projects. You all got an update earlier today from Mick and Nick about the Palisades Nuclear Power Plant. We've also had a number of meetings with LMC about their activities in the community and what opportunities we may have for the South Haven campus, one of the exciting ones being the development of a marine tech program. They are also an active partner with the city and the Chamber of Commerce in a series of entrepreneurship and business development workshops that we have been involved in. And then lastly, one of the notes in City Council's priority list for economic development this year was to explore staffing options to support and bolster economic development. We obviously have a contract with Market Van Buren, and they do provide some supplementary services. That organization continues to grow and add staff, so as their capacity continues to expand, we're also trying to make sure we're forming and building and maintaining relationships with other economic development organizations in the area. So in the last couple months, we have met with Lakeshore Advantage as well as Southwest Michigan First to make sure that we're taking advantage of any partnerships in that arena. So with that being said, the next slide will have a little bit of the summary on our economic development work over the last year. I'm very excited about this work, feel like this is an area that our organization really stands out compared to a lot of other municipalities in the state. But with that, I will hand it back over to Kate.
Thank you. We have for our priority number 5 was fiscal responsibility and sustainability. We've had a look at some of the stuff that we've been able to get for the community, and we've really tried to maximize our local funds with federal and state grant awards. State and federal grant awards, excuse me. So as we mentioned earlier, we had the $30,000 grant from the MEDC to update our zoning ordinance. We also received CMAQ funding to assist with the first phase of the Aylworth sidewalk project that will be completed early next year. We have worked with the MEDC for the matching grant for the fireplace in Dykeman Park. That's $40,000. $50,000 was an EAGLE grant to conduct the environmental assessment, further environmental assessment of the Overton site. This next line, we actually received a $3.6 million ARPA grant / loan from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. So that is a loan that's of ARPA grant dollars that are coming through the state. And that's for wastewater improvements. But we did receive a matching grant from ARPA funds from Van Buren County in the amount of $480,468. Each of the communities that are part of SHWASA, which is Casco Township, South Haven Township, and the City of South Haven, also further pledged another $167,157. So total of the ARPA funds received that will go to lead replacement services is just shy of $1 million at $981,939. So that's a real coup. We also have the $275,000 in land water conservation fund for Monroe Kids Corner. We're also applying for $183,000 in the Spark grant for some gap funding with Kids Corner. So we definitely had some success there, maximizing some local dollars. As part of our fiscal responsibility and sustainability, we also looked at building services fee schedule that was updated recently. We've had some improvements at the marinas, reducing expenses and increasing revenue. We've also been able to look at some of the staffing that we were able to do with fiscal responsibility, and we have received for a second year the Governance Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement for Excellence. This will be our 22nd year of receiving that award. And this is our progress on this priority. I should note that we have not made meaningful progress on the permanent road millage or the recreational millage, but the good news is there's 6 more months for us to get that work done. For priority 6, we have the future planning and management of conservation of natural resources. Go ahead.
Sure. This one's relatively short, with a couple major activities that have progressed over the last year associated with this that we'd like to highlight are the City Council's creation of a houseboat and floating home subcommittee. This committee has been meeting monthly since about July or August, and really diving into some of the challenges associated with the potential regulation of houseboats and floating homes. The Planning Commission also wrapped up a subcommittee that they had formed regarding shoreline protection and shoreline armoring. Some work that came out of that subcommittee ultimately led to a coastal management grant application that City Council approved a few meetings ago, looking for funding for a shoreline protection study. On that same vein, a coastal management grant grant application was also submitted to support next year's master plan review and update.
And again, our progress tracker for that priority. And here we have priority number 7, which is our DEI initiatives. And for that, we have Kim Wise.
Hello. Okay, so we have been making some steady progress on our DEI initiatives. We've been working very closely with Inclusive Performance Strategies. Just recently, we finished our document audit, so we sent over 130 internal documents to them, policies, reports, things like that, for them to take a look at, and so they are now in the process of reviewing those. We also conducted an employee survey in November, and we had about 50% completion of that survey, so we're waiting to hear back on how that went. Our next steps are we're going to be holding employee focus groups in February, again, looking at this internally. So we're going to have staff members, mid-level department folks, and then department heads as well. That will be part of the focus groups. In April, we added, this was kind of fun for us, we added a DEI page on the city's website. So if you take a look at other municipalities, there's not, unless you're a larger municipality, there's not a lot of municipalities our size or smaller that have a DEI page, so we were happy to add that. We've been doing ongoing training, the unconscious bias training that we had with Eddie Polk earlier in the year. The local officers compensation committee, we had them come in, and again, we did an increase in the pay rate for council members. Megan and I have been talking about ways that we can try to attract new folks to try to run for council in the future, so that's ongoing progress for us. In June, members of staff attended the Lakeshore Ethnic Diversity Alliance Summit on Race and Inclusion. Those folks included Richie Garcia, the water filtration plant superintendent, Megan Kiker, our city clerk, Griffin Graham, and myself. We attended that in June. That had keynote speakers and different breakout sessions, such as diversity in the workplace, and one that I attended, which was really great, was an FBI agent who talked about civil rights and hate crimes. And then in October, Griffin Graham and I attended the Ottawa County Diversity Forum. And that was really a great opportunity for us to see what our neighbors just to the north of us are doing. There were businesses, there were municipalities, so it was great to see what those folks were doing. And then finally, we had the non-discrimination ordinance adopted in August 2022.
And there's that progression tracker right there. We'll go to infrastructure. Oh, let me go back a second. Bill covered a lot of this, but we just want to kind of make a quick note as part of the priority review. One is that we have as a priority implementing long-term capital improvement plans, including road and sidewalk pavement. As you know, we're planning on doing the Aylworth Phase 1 for spring construction. We tried to do a fall construction, but we actually had to rebid that process, that work out. I think if you might remember that came back up as the first time we bid that out, it was 40% over what we had anticipated. So we're taking our time to get a spring construction. Again, talking about the ARPA funds that we got from Van Buren County to further maximize the lead replacements. Also, we improved our city utility system. We've got the Clean Water Revolving Fund from 3.4 but 3.6 million, and some other grants that we've applied for. And this is mostly on the information already received from Bill Hunter. So that's our progress tracker there. Now we can go into some of our department updates. Here we have the building department, so I'm going to ask Brian to jump in here.
Awesome, thank you. Well, I am happy to go over briefly some of the summary statistics that we bring before you all every year associated with the building department. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on these, but just as a reminder, we've got a variety of different common permit types that we offer here in the city. The two numbers you see in the middle column, the one on your left is the number of permits issued this year. The one in parentheses is the change from last year. So if it says -2, we issued 2 less permits than we did last year. And then Kate, if you don't mind going to the next slide for me. Really the number I just want to draw all your attention to is the total fees collected and the total number of permits issued. The reason I want to point these out is over the last year, there was a lot of concern related to the economy and interest rates and what that was going to do to building and development. These types of fees and permits issued tend to be a pretty good indicator of how we're doing here locally. And as you can see, we stayed pretty steady, a slight drop off from last year, which was one of our highs over many years, but still a really good year when it comes to investment in development in the city of South Haven. But with those concerns, we will continue to closely monitor over the next year. And topic we've talked about a few times already today, and I know we had an update several meetings ago for you, but code enforcement actions and code enforcement activities were a priority for our department this year. The number that you have here is 138 municipal citations were issued. I think this slide's a little bit misleading. Those are the total municipal citations that were issued by our code enforcement officer related to building and zoning, nuisance, code of ordinance type items. Short-term rentals were its own category. We did issue 27 citations to date related to the short-term rental ordinance. There are a couple other enforcement statistics on that slide, but the one I'm most proud of is actually that last number, and that's the number of other contacts that our code enforcement officer has had within the community. As you all hear me say a lot, enforcement is about resolving the problem. It's not about punishing people. It's how can we educate, how can we build relationships to move forward and hopefully prevent these things from happening in the future. So I think if you look at that, 1,400 other contacts and think about how many work days we have in a year and realize that our code enforcement officers making, a half dozen or more contacts a day, and this communication and education and these relationships that are being formed, I am very happy to see and confident those will continue to bear fruit moving forward.
Up next is our city clerk.
Good evening. I'm excited to talk about my last year with our 2022 here. So I have just ran my first large state election on my own without the help of the former city clerk, Travis Sullivan. I think it went very well. We didn't have any major hiccups or anything. And this year I actually had to have all of my poll workers recertified, so I had approximately 40 people recertified, including myself, through Van Buren County and Allegan County. And every 2 years, everyone needs to get recertified. So I'm always looking for more poll workers if anyone is interested in seeing how the election process works from start to finish. It's very fascinating if you don't know more about it. I also completed my first year of the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks Institute. It is a 3-year program, so I just completed the first one, and my second one will take place in March of 2023. That takes place in Mount Pleasant. So that's a really nice long week of lots of information, lots of different breakout classes, and just a great opportunity to talk with other clerks too. As a newer clerk, it's kind of nice to have other people to look up to and other contacts to reach out to. I also love to engage in the community. I've been in South Haven for 10 years now, and so I love being a part of it. So just a few items that I do outside of working hours are our Young Professionals group that Griffin and I, with the help of the Chamber of Commerce, began actually in December of 2021. And so this was our first full year. We just had our annual dinner in December as well, and that went very well. We had about 30 people, and so that was great. great for our first full year. The Chamber of Commerce, I'm an ambassador with them, so I attend many ribbon cutting ceremonies for new businesses in town as a representative of the city. So it's really nice to introduce new business owners to our community with nice smiling faces. Just recently also joined the National Blueberry Festival Board and will be helping put together the National Blueberry Festival Parade. So that'll be very fun. And I just attended my first couple Women Who Care meeting as well, which is really, really exciting to see people taking initiative in their community. Another part of my job is FOIA requests. So this is just kind of a timeline of the last couple of years to show where we're at now. So as you can see, last year we had a major jump, and then this year again, we have received up 92 to date FOIA requests. So the IT department and myself are actually in communications with Granicus to implement a FOIA software to help with the tracking and create an online portal for the public to use to have requests and then also download their information off of that website as well. And I believe, other than that, we just have to talk about voter turnout. So this year, we actually had a very high turnout for the whole state. Clerks around the state were reporting record high turnout. I personally sent out 1,000 absentee ballots for our state election, so that was huge. I think a lot of voters are transitioning to the absentee just because it is very convenient and easy. You can come pick up your ballot whenever, so always definitely recommend that option to people. And then, yep, as you can see, we had 987 of those 1,039 ballots received, so that's a very, very high number to have returned. So that is what I have about that.
All right, thank you. Also, we have on here, we have our customer service department. We have those three ladies that are up there usually every day. We have 2 full-time and 1 part-time person. Customer service saw they take in nearly $40 million in payments. 51,642 payments actually have been received and processed by customer service. Those payments were received at the front counter, night deposit boxes, and the Daily Mail. They've opened 940 new accounts this year, had a number of work orders and payment assistant plans developed. Customer service is seeing an increase in the number of face-to-face contacts and people coming in. We see that as rising as we're trying to get back after the first 2 years of the pandemic. You can also see a number of the phone calls and the emails going down slightly, but the digital transactions continue to outperform all three. Here we have the finance department. These are the expenses and revenues by fund. I do want to know that these are part of the numbers that we receive from the state of Michigan, so these are on our website. Part of the reason you see down here is that the largest increase was 458% in the other public works category, and that's partly from closing out the fund balance from the Center Street Improvement Project. That's why those numbers are so high. The second largest increase was in community economic development of 203%. The reason for that is we saw some increase to contractual services, but we also located the assistant city managers' pay from that fund. This is just a pie chart showing where the money is spent. Majority of it, 33%, is on public safety. Another further 12% is general government, so that's most of the departments that are listed in this update here. And another 12% is going to debt service. This is our revenue by fund. We see here a largest percentage of change was in interest and rents of 698, and that's due to market value adjustments of investments as of 6/30/22. We can see those market value adjustments changing all year, but they only count on one day, and that's the last day of your fiscal year. We've also seen an increase in the fines and forfeitures category. We do note that this is probably increased to parking penalties, ordinance, and fines costs. And again, there's another pie chart showing where the money comes from. That's going to show you a number of taxes, state government, and other revenues. And this, again, is the actual language of the finance department. So this is the certificate of achievement that's good for only 1 year, for 1 year only. And again, as I mentioned, this is the 22nd consecutive year that the city has received this award. And this is the mayor's favorite slide. This is a dollar bill, so this accounts for a millage. So 59% of the taxes that we collect, and we collect all the taxes for those taxing jurisdictions that are on that slide. If you can't read them, I'll read them out to you. It's Van Buren ISD, the state education tax, South Haven Public Schools, Lake Michigan College, Allegan and Van Buren counties, senior services, and South Haven Memorial Library. So we collect for all those taxing jurisdictions in addition to the city of South Haven's taxes. And what's really noted is that the cities of South Haven's taxes for this year of 2021, because that's when these taxes were collected for 2021 in this fiscal year. 25% of the taxes that are collected from your tax bill, only 25% stays here in the city for us to do the things that we do, which is water, sewer, roads, number of things. So I think that's a pretty strong, because I know a lot of people are concerned, where does their tax dollars go? Here's a nice little chart that shows you the breakdown, and it corresponds to the size of the units paid. So like I said, 59% goes to education of some sort. Here we have Kim for our HR resources.
I'm going to swing over this way so I can see a little bit better. If you can go back to that first slide there.
Sure.
I just wanted to show, these are all the things that we do in our HR department. The HR department consists of myself and a payroll assistant, Ginger Smith, who does an amazing job of doing not only the payroll for the City of South Haven, but she also does payroll for Shays. So these are all the things that we do in our department. As the HR director, I just want to say I have the great pleasure of getting to know every single employee who is hired here at the City of South Haven. And I feel confident in saying that we have an amazing group of talented, well-educated, well-trained, and community-minded employees who work in each and every one of our departments. I am really proud of the team that we have here at the City of South Haven. All right, and so with that, in 2022, we posted 15 different positions, and with that, a position could hire multiple people for that role. So seasonal bridge tenders, we hired 6 seasonal bridge tenders. Marina staff, there was like 25 that we hired over there. Police officers, we hired 3. So last year we hired a marina office supervisor, 3 patrol officers, public works clerk, information center clerk, seasonal parking enforcement, seasonal bridge tenders, marina staff, parks, a senior administrative office worker who was internal, came in from one of our seasonal positions, a senior equipment operator in streets and water sewer, a system administrator who's doing a great job of broadcasting this tonight, so welcome, Bill, a water filtration plant operator, a wastewater treatment plant maintenance, which was an internal hire, and a wastewater treatment plant operator. So of all those 15 positions, we filled 14. We have 1 open position right now. 3 of the positions that we filled were internally. And if you go back just 1 second, I want to show. So the chart at the bottom shows how many candidates applied for our position. So in 2022, we had 378 people that applied for those positions. We selected 166 people to come in for interviews. And like many other businesses, your recruiters get ghosted sometimes. So we had 99 people who came to the interviews. So either those folks decided that it wasn't going to be the right fit, they just didn't return our phone calls, anything like that. And we ended up hiring 57 people. Okay. So as I mentioned, we have 1 open position right now, an information center clerk, which is Monday through Fridays, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. We're going to start doing interviews on that hopefully next week. We have 91 current employees, 83 full-time and 8 part-time. And the thing I think I was probably most proud of this year is we were able to hire 45 seasonal positions, and I think a lot of that thanks us to you folks for raising that rate. Our marina staff is now starting at $14 an hour, and the rest of the staff are starting at $15 an hour. That was huge in getting us all of these folks hired last year. All right. Another thing that helped out was we held a seasonal job fair in February, and we plan on doing that again this year. That was a huge success. We filled a lot of positions at that time. Some other projects we had going on, we had our go live of our performance management system. So our employee reviews are all online now, which is great because we can go back anytime and pull up an old review. We also started a learning management system so folks can go online and take some courses that are free for them. This year, over at DPW, the TPOM union did an election. They moved over to IBEW, so that just recently started. We helped with the Shays contract negotiation, so we should have that contract finalized hopefully in early January. Because sometimes we want to make sure that our staff feel appreciated. We started a social activities committee. Megan's on that. I'm on it. We have a few other folks from throughout the city. Scott's pretty familiar with the social activities committee. We had one over at the hospital, so I'm kind of stealing that idea and taking it over here. It's just something that we can do for staff that's going to be, no taxpayer money. So like we just recently did a holiday potluck. Everybody brought food in, and we just did some fun stuff like ugly Christmas sweaters. Megan and I have been working on a social media calendar, so trying to plan out what we're going to be putting out on Facebook, LinkedIn, and things like that. This year, we started a 529 college savings plan. So it's a new benefit for employees. Again, no cost to taxpayers. It would just be if an employee wants to have money taken out of their check, it goes directly to a 529 plan. And when we were at the Ottawa County Diversity Forum, I had the opportunity to meet a few HR directors. So I was able to get on a West Michigan HR director, kind of like a listserv. So they have meetings quarterly, and we send out a lot of emails. It's been very beneficial already. We've also done some ongoing leadership training and staff training. So we had our annual leadership retreat that was in February, where we had all the leaders come in for half a day and do some training there. The verbal de-escalation training, we did that for the police department and also for city hall staff. All of our leaders went through a full-day public labor law training that talked about grievance management and just employee relations. We have our annual open enrollment sessions, unconscious bias training, which we talked about earlier. And then whenever we have a new leader come in, we've developed a new leader training where they go through sexual harassment training, DEI training, and things of that sort. So we've been pretty busy this year.
I'll be speaking on the information technology. So we have now 3 people in our information technology. We've seen a number of increases in the calls so that they have to respond to. So this is just a graph showing the different departments that they respond to when people need assistance. So these are different categories of internal service stakeholders. IT has expanded. We've added Bill Foskett. He's the one running our meeting tonight. Welcome, Bill. We've also commenced the IT services for the city of New Buffalo that was agreed to by the city council earlier this year. They continue their marina and downtown Wi-Fi expansion, and they have transitioned staff to the Microsoft Office 365.
The next slide you see has some information from our Marina team on improvements that they have made over the year. As many of you are aware, we did go through some significant staffing changes at the Marina. So this being our end of the year update, I would just like to give a shout out to Todd Newberry and Elizabeth Santana for their many years of service to the city of South Haven and the Marinas. They will be missed and wish them the best. We do have 2 new people in the Marina department. We have Marina Manager Chuck Warren and our Marina Office Assistant, Kelsey Winters, and they are great additions and already hitting the ground running. So as you can see on the slide, they've taken problem solving as their first priority and been able to solve several challenges over the year and are looking forward to this next year.
We have some police department slides, and I know Chief Thompson is here.
So the first slide is an overview of our department. And the only correction on this is we have 3 plainclothes detectives. We have 2 in narcotics and 1 in-house. I would be the administrative person, although I do help out road patrol and help investigations. So as you can see, we are fully staffed, 20 police officers. And then we have actually 10 support staff right now. We're down to 6 information center clerks. So that just gives an overview of the police department and our information center staff. This final slide, this is actually not year-end. I will not get my year-end stats until this month. So at the next meeting, I'll have an actual year-end report. But this graph shows as of November 30th, you can see our total calls for service are substantially up. 5,057, and this has been running about 2 officers short. Like I said, we've hired 3 this year, but Our final hire is still in field training, and our other one just got out of field training about a month ago. So you can see the substantial jump in our total calls for service. Our calls for service in the township, again, have gone up dramatically, 1,826. And in the city of South Haven, it's following the same pattern, 3,231. So the officers have been working, doing a great job and working very hard this year. Next is just a pie to break down the, excuse me, the citations that we've written this year. And you can see doing a lot of traffic. The purple is the traffic warning. The yellow, even in addition to our parking enforcement unit, our police officers have been really focusing on parking. That was another 25%. And then the 19% in the orange is the moving traffic citations. So, like I said, being fully staffed, we have a lot of very motivated young officers. I saw a traffic stop on my way here. So we recognize that we're doing good on traffic, but I foresee that being greatly improved upon with the upcoming year. Again, still with a month to go. These are our arrests as of November 30th, up to 406. So we're about double the previous 2 years. Probably the best comparison would be 2019. 2020 was very unusual because of COVID and so forth. So probably the best comparison would be 2019, but we are pretty way above that still. Next is just a graph to kind of emphasize the emphasis that we have put on citations and warnings. You can see we're up to 1,452 as of November 30th, compared to only 909 last year. And complaints, these are numbers. These are actually incidents that we do a police report on. So right now we are up to 1,958. So we've surpassed the previous 2 years with a month to go. This slide, I like this. This depicts our 3 officers that we were able to hire this year. The top left is Officer Cooper Carnes. He is our most recent hire. Top right is Officer Joshua Lee. He is now solo. In fact, he's working tonight with Sergeant DeBoer. And then on the bottom is our second newest officer, Officer Tyler DeBacher. Again, we are very fortunate here in South Haven and our police department to be able to have accomplished this year. I'm one of the few departments I know of in the state that is fully staffed. So it's very much thanks to Kim, our HR director. She really helps get the notices out. It's a lot of recruiting from the officers, but I really give kudos to this community and to the city and our department because a lot of the informal recruiting that the officers do, because we've got 2 of these officers from 2 of the biggest departments in the state, and then 1 just out of the academy, but it's word of mouth. We've got great community support, great city support, so I think it really says a lot about South Haven that we're able to get such high-quality candidates. And then, we give awards throughout the year, and then at our department meeting this year, that was just a week ago, these are our 2 awards that we gave just recently. So, and both of the incidents in which these awards were given for really emphasize the level of work that our officers do, and it also emphasizes the seriousness of complaints that we're unfortunately getting now. So on the top left, that is Officer Tyler DeBacher. He received the Professional Excellence Certificate for his work on an armed robbery. And since I have a little bit of time, I'm going to just describe this incident. So the good news is when this happened is we had 2 officers on day shift that had an equally pretty big incident that were on overtime finishing that up when this call of an armed robbery came out, and it was Officer DeBacher and Officer Lee. So basically, 911 call of an armed robbery, and what really helped get this case solved is Officer DeBacher got to the victim immediately, stayed calm, rendered aid to the victim, but he got the description out of the suspects right away. And with that description, the suspects were heading back to Grand Rapids. Allegan County deputies were able to conduct a traffic stop on the suspects, got the suspects both in custody, and was able to recover $8,800 still on the suspects. Both of these individuals were well known to us. One is from Grand Rapids, one from Covert, lengthy criminal histories, both being charged with multiple felonies. So, but it was that officer is very prompt, rendering aid to the victim, getting the information out, and it all came together very well. And then on the bottom, and the top, so Officer Kiniszewski, Officer Van Brussel, K-9 Riker, Sergeant DeBoer, and then Officer Ledger, who is not pictured here, all received a unit citation. Another similar, very serious incident, and I do have this written out. And again, why we have so many officers is it was at a shift change. So this happened very early in the morning. Some of our night shift people were still on duty, and then our morning shift people came in. So I'll just read you the summary. These guys did an excellent job. In the early morning hours of April 18th, 2022, officers were dispatched to the 1000 block of 6th Avenue for a reported home invasion. A female reported that her ex-boyfriend had pointed a gun at her and had broken in her bedroom window, gaining access into her residence. So this female had ran out of her house, left her phone inside, took her 2-year-old daughter with her. So they were able to escape. They had tried to get the attention of neighbors. It was still dark out. No one would help her. So thought the suspect had left. So she actually took her daughter and went back into her home. So once they got back in, the suspect was still around, and he kicked in the front door with the gun. She quickly grabbed her phone, called 911, and again, our officers were there almost immediately. So here you've got a mother with her 2-year-old daughter, and, you know, it could have been a deadly situation. So when he saw her calling 911, he fled. Officer Kiniszewski rendered aid to her and the daughter, got that description out. Sergeant DeBoer and Officer Ledger spotted him on the highway, traffic stop, pursuit, were able to get this person into custody, and couldn't find the gun during a vehicle search. So this is the beauty of our phenomenal K-9 Riker. Officer Van Brussel and Riker searched along the side of the highway, a path that the vehicle had went, and then where the vehicle had turned around is where they found a gun in the side of the ditch. So it was very good to recover that gun, especially. And I can give a very good update on that suspect. He was recently had a pre-sentencing hearing, and with his criminal history, he will be going to prison for quite a long time. So that was the unit citation. But again, these are the types of incidents that our officers are handling superbly. So brag about them a little bit.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Shays. Shays is the South Haven Area Emergency Services. We are one of 4 communities that is part of Shays. South Haven Charter Township, Casco Township, and Geneva Township make up Shays. This is the number of calls for service for EMS in the blue and fire for red. And as you can see, over the last 4 years, they have increased their calls for service every year. The only year where maybe EMS went down was in 2020, when they probably could not pick up as many people as they could. But as you can see, those, I guess for 2022 it's estimated, but we're seeing those numbers go up every year. Shays recently went through the ISO rating and improved the ISO, so people in this area, residents and commercial, insurance payments, you might be seeing some savings for taxpayers. They've also increased their inspections, site plans, training hours, public education, and personnel, and they very much appreciate the support from the community. They have been working with Safe Kids from South Haven, Safe Kids Greater South Haven, as well as local businesses, residents, and local organizations to really promote beach safety. They put together the ice cream cone ticket when they saw kids doing very good things out there, learning good rules, learning good behaviors on the beaches, and they gave them a free ice cream cone. They do a lot of outreach with the schools. So Shay's members went to 7 schools and taught about fire prevention training to about 1,500 students. They hosted the 21st Annual Fire Safety Fun Fair, which had over 300 nearly 300 children attend. They do a lot of training as part of their profession, and they have increased the requirements. They have added a training officer to help correlate all this training that they need to do. For firefighters, officers, and officer instructors, there's different continuing ed credits that are needed for each position. Additionally, if they're medically trained, and most of them are who are on shift, they have all these different continuing education credits they have to take. So their training officer, Sean Smith, will be handling all that. Part of their inspections is fire pre-plan. They did 150 of those, 153 fire code inspections, 637 STR inspections, 29 hydrant flow tests. Those are some of the pictures they took. And that wraps up our annual presentation, with our contact information.
Well done.
Thank you.
Any questions, or want to do a short break before we go on? Yeah, we'll take 5.
I'll make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Second.
All right, motion second, take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll come back. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
See you in 5. All right, we're back. That takes us to next item, which is citizens in the audience. We'll be hearing on items not on the agenda. If there's anyone who'd like to speak, come on up, state your name and address. You'll have up to 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Nancy Nat, and I would like to add something to the beach safety review. I thought it was important in closing out this year that we pay tribute to those who drown off of our beaches. Anthony Paul Tony Deal was 33 years old from Beaver Creek, Ohio, and passed away on July 13th. Tony was the glue that held his family together. Selfless to his final act, he died trying to save his beloved nephew, Elijah, who also passed away. Tony was a firm believer that family came before anything else, and his family extended far and wide. The people he cared about were his entire world. He was a fast and forever friend, and many people considered him a brother. He enjoyed golf, game nights, and get-togethers. He and his wife hosted many good times and were the first ones to step in and help others who were in need. He leaves behind 4 children and his wife. Elijah Thomas Britt. Elijah also passed away on July 13th. His uncle, Tony Deal, tried selflessly to save his life but was unable to do so. Eli was born on the 20th of April, 2015 in Texas to the parents of Leanne and Andrew Britt. He was a rambunctious, inquisitive, and artistic boy that looked up to his sister and as his best friend, Evelyn. He loved anything that was colorful, and he was constantly changing his favorite color. His last favorite color was red. Elijah was an incredible child with a huge artistic talent. His smile could light up the room, his kindergarten teacher said. He was always drawing and coloring. They encouraged him to finish his writing assignments before he could start drawing again. He was sweet, fun-loving, and very artistic. He was active. He had just recently earned his yellow belt in Taekwondo. He enjoyed hiking, paddleboarding with his mom and her partner, Kyle, and he always strived to do things a little bit faster, bigger, and higher than everyone else. Emily and Corey drowned on August 8th this year, ages 19 and 22 respectively. Corey, boyfriend of Emily, perished while they were both trying to save each other that day. They were unsuccessful. They leave behind their sweet cats, Spoon and Ember. Corey was a graduate of Novi High School and most recently a Michigan State University graduate. He just started a career at Epic Systems in Madison, Wisconsin. Corey's faith was important to him. In his younger years, he was an altar boy at Holy Family Catholic Church and later helped the church as an usher. Corey was a kind soul with a fun-loving spirit and a personality that was a blessing for all those that surrounded him. Thankfully, Emily and Corey got to spend a lot of time together this last year and to attend all the college events. And just spending a lot of time, I'm so grateful for that, said Lisa McDonald, Emily's mother. Emily had a lot of tragedies in her life, and going to Michigan State was the best thing that ever happened to her. MSU was Emily's dream. Everything she owned was green and white. Every shirt she had was a Michigan State shirt. When Corey went there, Emily was so excited. Emily was determined to become a veterinarian. Emily continues to give back even in her passing. She's an organ donor, and a scholarship fund has been set up by her mother, Lisa McDonald. Emily was an academic person, very successful in school, valued education, and would often express that she felt bad for kids that couldn't go to college because of money. We had a very big discussion about this, and I want to set up a scholarship fund in her name, said her mother. In closing, I asked Emily's mom if there was anything more she wanted to say. She said, I just want people to know that they lost 2 incredible young people. Corey and Emily loved each other, and all they wanted to do was grow old together. They were robbed of that dream. We, as their families, were robbed of that dream as well.
I just want to say, please remember these families and the difficult times that they are having in grieving these tragic losses. And I know there are many people in our community sending condolences. Thanks.
Thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. Anybody else?
Thanks very much for this opportunity to speak. My name is Kevin Camps, and I serve as radioactive waste specialist at Beyond Nuclear and as a board member for Don't Waste Michigan, which is the statewide safe energy organization representing the Southwest Michigan chapter.
Can you get your address as well?
I'm sorry?
Your address.
My address is 441 Fairfax Avenue, Kalamazoo, Michigan, 49001.
Thank you.
I was asked by a number of our members and supporters in the city of South Haven to speak this evening when the news broke this morning that Holtec International was going to apply for another federal bailout. And we knew that there was an item on the agenda. We had seen that coming up, but we thought they were going to report on the previous bailout application being denied. So this bolt out of the blue is the reason that I came here from Kalamazoo this evening to address you. So what I'd like to announce, I don't know who to hand it to. I do have a media statement by myself about today's news. I also have a media statement dated November 14th by Arnie Gunderson of Fairwinds Energy Education. He is a nuclear engineer with 50 years experience. He's been our nuclear engineer safety expert witness at Palisades in a number of our interventions over the years and decades. I guess just to keep it brief, this was a bolt out of the blue that Holtec, even after announcing on November 18th that they had no intention to do this again, even announcing since December of 2020 that the reason they wanted to take over Palisades was to decommission it, to dismantle it, to clean up the radioactive contamination, to provide maintenance on the high-level radioactive waste that is stuck there for not years but decades to come, very likely. So we're just kind of aghast at the risks that are represented by this scheme. Just to give you one example of many, Palisades has the worst neutron-embrittled reactor pressure vessel, not in the country, but in the world. This is according to Arnie Gunderson. What that means is the reactor pressure vessel is so full of cracks at a microscopic level that if the emergency core cooling system is ever activated in an emergency, it could be the final straw. It would be like a hot glass under cold water, only at 2,000 pounds, a ton of pressure per square inch, which means that that reactor pressure vessel could shatter, it could fracture through wall, the cooling water would be lost, and it would be an inevitable meltdown of the reactor core. And just to give you an idea of what that could mean for the surrounding area, I would like to cite what is commonly called CRAC 2, Calculation of Reactor Accident Consequences. It's a 1982 study commissioned by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, which tellingly they tried to conceal after it was completed, but it was forced out in a congressional hearing by now Senator Edward Markey of Massachusetts. Here are the figures for what could happen at Palisades from a reactor core meltdown. 7,000 peak early radiation injuries, 1,000 peak early fatalities. Those are acute radiation poisoning deaths. 10,000 peak cancer deaths. Those are latent cancer fatalities. And $52.6 billion in property damage. And what I should hasten to add about these figures is that they are lowball. So for one thing, the population in this area has grown significantly since 1982. More people would be harmed by these hazardous radioactivity releases. And just adjusting for inflation alone, that figure of property damage would go up to $150 billion in year 2021 dollars, not even accounting for the economic growth since 1982, let alone the impacts to Lake Michigan, which were also not included in that study. So we just want to raise these warnings. We will challenge this scheme. One thing that Holtec did not bring up in their presentation earlier is that Entergy relinquished the operating license in early to mid-June when they defueled the reactor core. The NRC accepted that relinquishment of license. So that means they don't even have an operating license. Yes, they could hire a contractor to run the plant, whether it's Exelon, Entergy itself, Detroit Edison, name the nuclear utility. Palisades needs an operating license. It does not have one, and we will, as we have for decades, challenge that operating license application, and we will challenge this scheme at every turn. So I just wanted to get some of that out there, and I'd like to ask who to hand this to for
That's right, the city
circulation.
manager.
I have 20 copies, so.
Yep. Very good.
There's 2 different press statements. And I thank you for your time. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for your comments. Appreciate it. Was there anybody else? Going once, going twice?
Dan Agnello, 964 Everett Parkway. I missed the first part of the meeting because I was down at ZBA meeting, which was very good because they shot down the appeal for both of them. I wasn't going to talk about, I missed the part about Palisades, but I worked at Palisades since '71, doing design work out of Jackson and everything. And I saw recently, I thought that the NRC turned down their request to restart the reactor. And like he said, there's no operating license. And Palisades has embrittlement. I don't know how they got their license extension. Maybe George knows because he worked there. But that reactor vessel is getting embrittled, and it's no way should it get restarted. And I'll just stop at that. I'm going to talk about priority number 2, which addresses STRs. The schedule is not right. It's not even up to date. There's a lot of credit being taken for stuff that wasn't done. And the work just hasn't been completed. And we've talked about this many times. The STR changes from the survey, whatever it is, probably won't get done until January, February, and by the time it gets to the city council, it's going to be as early as March before anything happens or gets done. And of course, we missed 2 cycles, right? Last year and this year, nothing's going to change. I will applaud, I told her at the meeting just now, Kelly Doucette, that she finally stepped down and applied and enforced the zoning ordinance. 3 years in a row, they gave these people a license, even though they did meet the parking requirements. And now they're fighting the fact that, they don't have parking, basically. And they held up to it, and all of them got upheld. And they tried to get on premises to change that to say across the street on Chestnut and on the other lot next to Chestnut. That got shot down too. So it's good to see that we're finally being tough on these zoning ordinances. We need to do a lot more, but we're getting there, okay? And the fact that Griffin talked about citations, 1,442 warnings. I don't know where they all came from, but I think he said 28 were for STRs. But I've talked about this a million times. The ordinance does not say warning, okay? And if you're not tough on these agents or owners, they're going to just do what they want. I told you about my next-door neighbor had a personal STR. They rented it 10 times. You only allowed 8, okay? And the only way they could find out about it was Kelly T had to call Shores to find out how many times they rented. This company that you're trying to hire, I didn't get a chance to talk about that. They didn't have any information. They said there was 2 rentals. That was it. I live next door. I know there was at least 8 or 10. I do know some of the family. The grandmother was there and stuff. I recognize her in October. But there's no way to monitor that. And this company that's going to do the software change, I can understand that, update and whatever. But you put junk in the software, junk comes out, okay? There's no way to monitor that. There's a lot of other things you can't monitor. So I don't know how this is going to work. I would personally say if you get rid of personal STRs, you've solved a lot of your problems because then you don't have to count. You just got to make sure they meet the zoning ordinances and the parking is okay. And, you check everything out. Shays checks it out and they go inspect for parking, whatever. Then you give them a permit, okay? And you do it per the ordinance. You collect all the requests by the end of January, and then you start approving after that. You don't approve any other time. That's starting to happen, but it's not happening all the time. That's what else I got. Okay, priority number 2. Physical responsibility. I guess there's some talk about new taxes for roads and recreational matters. We already paid high enough taxes, 42 mils for myself. My son owns an STR around the corner. He pays 59 because he lives in Colorado. And if you increase the taxes, it's bad enough that us residents have to pay more. But a lot of people that support the school, that's the 19 mils, are going to pay even more. They pay 59 right now. And our trail side, I just calculated it right now, without including lots 17 and 18, we pay between $300,000 and $350,000 in taxes out of 18 homes, okay? And luckily, we have the Headley Act, because our taxes can only go up 5% this year instead of 9 or 9.5, whatever the inflation is. And I was just talking to Jennifer the other day. She's a very nice lady. I talked to her a lot, and she said our taxes only go up 5%. So we need to form a committee to look at taxes to see what we can do to reduce them. And then we have a lot of funds that we still have to pay for. 1 minute.
No.
Thanks. Oh, I'm done?
You are done.
All
yeah.
right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Feeney.
Good evening, Council. Tom Feeney, 516 Phoenix Street, Harbor Light Brewery. I just wanted to come up here and say again, if there's a possibility to take and have an opportunity to extend our business to serve food to our customers that come into the brewery, we would greatly appreciate it. There is a vendor ordinance for no food trucks in the downtown Central Business District area. However, we are not a vendor. We are a brick and mortar business. We pay taxes and so forth, and we would like to cater food in for 2 specific events, one on the 30th of December, which is our almost 4-year anniversary, and the 31st, which is New Year's Eve. We've been asked, is it possible that we could serve food by the Visitors Bureau for the New Year's Eve celebration? So we would like to subcontract the service out to a vendor, food truck, and that would be an extension of our kitchen and our food license. We have submitted a request to staff and have not heard a response yet, but would like to express the opportunity to have this, and we would ask your consideration. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. You got it right. We're good.
I did talk to Tom earlier today, and then I met with staff. I know that he talked with Megan about what can he do about this situation, about having a food truck full-time, as well as the 30th and 31st of this month. Unfortunately, under our current ordinance, which is currently in place, food trucks are not allowed on private property in the downtown. Food trucks are only allowed in the B2 and the B4 with property owner permission. City council permission via resolution would be needed to operate on public property. So the ordinance itself right now does not allow for food trucks to be on private property in the Central Business District, full stop right there, unless you're part of a special event application. The CVB has a special event application on the books for the New Year's celebration that has gone through council, and they are having a beverage cart. But I don't have any relief for Mr. Feeney at this time, because right now the ordinance does not allow it, and 2, there's no special event before this council.
Gotcha. So it's not before us. Gotcha. So if we want to do this in the future, it has to be well in advance. Got it. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I am here because of the closed session meeting. Our community is hurting. This falls on the shoulders of the city manager. According to Indeed, looked it up, a competent city manager can interpret laws and apply them effectively while managing lots of moving parts. This has not happened. Rather than trying to do the right thing when mistakes happened, much effort and I suspect legal fees have been used to soften the message about those mistakes, and it has divided the community more and most likely increased the city's liability. Diminishing fault pits neighbors against neighbors, dividing our community. 77 Clinton, there were variances that were ignored. The neighbors' concerns were totally ignored, requiring city council intervention. Failure to timely address concerns show lacks of concern for our community and an inability to appreciate consequences of actions. Appointing those involved in the 77 Clinton debacle to the recodification committee shows that there are no consequences for big mistakes. 240 Oak, plans were approved when the homeowner failed to provide pictures of the outdoor kitchen before it was damaged, and there was a rebuild. The 240 Oak is now the most recent litigation this year against the city. The city manager is not learning. Why is that? Why, I dare say because she points the blame at others, but it's her responsibility to hire competent staff and consultants and to ensure adequate training and oversight. With the litigations this year, I dare say that has not been met. A critical part of the job is ensuring fair interpretation and execution of laws because of the significant impact on our community. That also has not been met. At any time, she could have fostered a relationship. She or her staff took the side of one property owner over another, and that is not right. And now the city has 2 lawsuits based on activities from the building department, a department she oversaw as assistant city manager. Now it appears the city will incur expenses for FOIA requests if the staff reports had more facts in them, truly address both sides of the issue with facts that are pro and con for each to help have a fully vetted decision. I suspect there would be fewer FOIA requests. The decision tree is missing branches. Right now, those branches need to blossom, and that will require a more fully vetted staff report and less usurping of other boards by staff. By not doing so, it's harming our community. And that starts today with the annual review. I appreciate the City Council and other board members praise staff for their work. I have no doubt that they work a lot of hours and very hard. However, we are now in litigation. How many more litigations will it take before City Council steps up to the plate and says it's time to require more of the record to support decisions, and that will require facts on both sides, pros and cons, and not usurping efforts that should have gone before the ZBA. The city manager also lacks transparent communication. She fails to make announcements at City Council about ad hoc meetings that do not routinely make it on the calendar. Her updates lack critical information. Is that because she's not aware of it, or is that because she's controlling the messaging because it's not yet time? Neither is acceptable. I had inquired this year about the $50K Eagle grant for Overton, and she admitted she didn't know about it. How can a city manager not know about the $50K grant to assess a brownfield site? Something that is now a big feather in the city's cap for the annual review. I appreciate that there are many moving parts to run the city, but the city manager's ability to identify critical items and monitor them has not met the standard. The city manager does not step in timely to address residents' concerns. It's not just 77 Clinton. Listen to other constituents. You heard one tonight. I have no doubt you have heard of other issues other than tonight. Please keep these in mind during her review. She acts as if she answers to nobody, but she answers to you, our elected officials. And you answer to us. Her actions speak louder than words, and she does not want to engage the community as a whole. That is not right. It's incumbent upon you, the elected officials, to hold her accountable. Our community needs strong leaders, their elected capacity to turn the ship around. That is now on your shoulders. The year's problems do not warrant a raise, but I suspect that is a hard pill to swallow. Please do the right thing as our elected officials, and at the very least, do not approve a bonus and control or revoke other perks as you deem appropriate for what has happened to this community over the last year. Thank you, Council, for your time, consideration, and service to our community.
Was there anybody else? 1, 2, 3. All right, going once, going twice. Sold. All right, city manager comments. Kate.
I'll keep it brief. I think we have just a couple of things I wanted to note. One, we will have the city and administrative offices for Public Works will be closed starting this Friday. They'll also be closed next Monday, and they'll be closed Monday, January 2nd. So our next council meeting for the new year will be on Tuesday, January 3rd. Notices will be placed on the doors of both buildings, and an alert has been added to the city's website. Also, I wanted to make note of the date for Christmas tree pickup. Many of us have a Christmas tree at home. Some of us have a real tree. And if you wish to dispose of that real tree before it makes more of a mess on your floor, you can do so by Wednesday, January 11th. In fact, if you get that out on time, either Tuesday the night before or Wednesday before pickup time, that tree will be removed for you free of cost. So those are my 2 comments for that. I wanted to wish everybody a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. This is our last meeting of the year. We got through it so far, and thank you so much for council. I wanted to give a big kudos to my staff. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things that are going on, and unfortunately, I know we hear a lot of maybe negative comments. I just wanted to put out there that I thought the presentation by all the departments was very good this year, and thank you. We want to hope you'd enjoyed it as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Well done. Council comments. I'll start on my right. Mr. Reeser, good evening.
I just wish everyone a happy holiday and a healthy holiday. Thank you.
Very good.
No
George?
comments.
Very good.
I have a few comments. I have been hearing so much the last couple weeks about garbage pickup and enforcement of receptacles. And the thing that I've heard from residents is that to pick it up by 8 p.m. the same day that it's emptied out is hard for a lot of people who are working or elderly or what have you.
It's 24 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
It is 8 PM, but we don't look at, I mean, code enforcement isn't here at 8 PM, so we're looking at the next day.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if we could look at making that a thing next year where they have at least like a 24-hour. Just something to give people who are working or have other things going on a little leeway. I think that'd be great because they're getting stressed out by, because I love that we're enforcing our ordinances, but that one just feels a little harsh for a lot of people who live here. I've just heard that from quite a few people in the last 2 weeks. And I just wanted to say there are some neighbors in Ward 2 who are working on putting together like a Ward 2 committee that would meet monthly based on what's going on in Ward 1. I think that's awesome, and I'm excited to be some part of that, to kind of work with the residents a little more and hear what they have to say. So that's it for me. I just wanted to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah and Christmas, New Year, Kwanzaa, all the things. Yeah, that's it.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Arnold.
Tossing out your Christmas tree on the 11th, that seems early. I know some people that keep it up as long as they possibly can, but aside from that, just want to wish everyone happy holidays and happy New Year.
Merry Christmas and watch the weather. I truly pray for everybody's travels this weekend. I guess we might have some inclement weather, so please travel safe.
Happy holidays to everyone. And if you need your driveway shoveled, just call Mr. Slock.
There you go. It's funny you talk about Christmas tree pickup. I remember when our twins were little. One year we took it down like on December the 26th.
Oh, that's
It's like gone because they were tearing it down. It was anyway. Sorry, it was like gone the next day. Yes, happy holidays, everybody. Safe travels. And just as we watch all the goings on at the city, I'm just always very grateful and thankful to Kate, to all the staff, Chief. Yay, thank you. And by the way, the reason you have so many good staff is because you're a great chief. So
She is.
you forgot to mention that. So
Yes,
kudos
she
to
is.
you.
Yes, she is.
Brandon, really just everybody. There's a lot of moving pieces and parts to, have your lights turn on every day and your water turn on every day and the streets get cleared. A lot of things happen that we just kind of take for granted, but it just happens. I love that I can get up, drive to work every day. I don't think about it. I just go.
Right.
So I'm very grateful for all of you every day. So on that note, happy holidays again. And this will end our live broadcast. We're going to be going into a closed session, so then we will come back in and kind of power down at the end, but this will end our live broadcast right now. And right now, the City Council is going to be asked to consider a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Section MCL 15.2681E. What's that?
I make a motion to go in closed session.
Oh, there you go. Motion and second to go into closed session. We need a roll call.
Schlock,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Onuki,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. So we will adjourn.
We staying in here or?
Yeah. Conference room, okay.